All right, you guys ready? We starting this?
Yeah. Now, when you
All
say
right.
you have a thing at the beginning, you're
Oh,
gonna do
I
like.
mean, look, I'm building it up. It's not a thing.
But I mean,
I'll
are
say
you?
it.
But are you doing it before I do the welcome back and
Yeah,
everything?
yeah,
Or?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Only if you want to. Only if you want
All
to.
right.
All right. Hey, so you guys gonna do Crystal Skull? Like, I mean, are you? Well, I mean, I mean, technically, it's an Indiana Jones. I mean, do you guys think you'll do it? I mean, I mean, uh, I think you got the. Everybody was asking us that. It's all. It
I
was just,
get it.
yeah, a little old. Now that I've
Like I
put
say,
us,
we have 6 months to think
yeah.
about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Hey, put it at the end.
You could do that too.
But you don't have to
I know,
if you
we'll
didn't
see.
like it.
All right. Here we go now.
Indiana Jones, Indiana Jones, Indiana It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones, Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where we discuss the film Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
What?
1 minute at a time. I know. That's the new one. The newest one so far. I'm Tom Taylor.
I'm the Admiral, Pete Muppert.
I'm the intern, Gerald Christopher Marcus Porter.
Hey.
And welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, Pete. Welcome back, Gerry. And welcome back, all of you nice people who are back to listen to us talk about Crystal Skull. And this first minute of Crystal Skull begins with the Lucasfilm logo and ends with a roadster filled with teens racing behind a U.S. Army truck.
When you guys see the Lucasfilm Ltd., do you think of Indiana Jones or Luke Skywalker?
Well, I got a question about that. Because this is
Okay.
the first Indiana Jones movie that used this logo.
Oh, really?
The
And
fancy,
What?
twinkly Lucasfilm.
Yeah, because
yeah.
it was always text before it. It said like Lucasfilm Ltd.
Yeah.
And my question is, this might cause some bad feelings amongst listeners, but has there ever been a good movie that began with that logo?
Oh, Pete. That was low. Golly.
Wow. This is minute one, Pete. Come on now.
You know what? I've been Mr. Positive for the last 3 years. One of you guys has to pick it up because I can't anymore. Not this time.
All right.
Not this
Well,
time.
you're supposed to start the minute off with cotton candy on your hands.
Yeah. Not like
What are you
George
doing?
Lucas
Name one.
clutching his heart
Then
and he doesn't
name
know
one.
why.
Name one.
What are my choices?
I'll
Well,
tell you one.
Okay.
Last Jedi. That's a good movie.
Oh, I couldn't remember if that had that at the beginning.
Oh yeah, well, all the new
Oh.
ones do, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, then that's okay then. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like The Last Jedi.
See.
Okay, good.
Huh?
No,
Off
I
to a
just
rollicking
asked
start.
I asked the question and I got an answer. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, this is gonna be an interesting season.
It is going to be interesting.
Yeah,
I have-
Pete's. I don't know what's gonna happen.
I'm not quite sure what to expect. I'm already a
Yeah.
little scared and a little anxious and a little annoyed.
But after
But I'll be all
the
right.
after the prequel logo, we get a we go back to an old friend kind of. We get the old Paramount logo that they used for the earlier movies, and they just replaced
Yeah.
Gulf and Western with Viacom.
And by now, like they had like the rushing stars over the lake thing.
Yeah.
Like a very animated, glitzy Paramount
Yeah.
logo by now.
Right.
But yeah, this is the old tried and true,
Yeah.
charming one.
So they're starting off like on, at least in that sense, on the right foot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting is the very first sign the movie has begun, right over that Paramount logo. We get a suspenseful musical chord.
Mhm.
Dare I say, unearthly.
Oh.
It sounds like
Mhm.
it sounds like the beginning of Close Encounters.
Close Encounters. Knew
Yeah.
it. I knew it. No, I have that written down.
Yeah.
It fades in and then it decays quickly.
Mhm.
It's and I wonder, is this the scariest beginning of an Indiana Jones movie? I mean, the first 3 seconds or 4 seconds. The setup, the music is not like, if you think about Raiders, it's kind of like, oh, they're in the jungle and it's like suspenseful and it's kind of like da da da, and you're like, oh, this is really interesting. I wonder what's going to happen. There's jungle noises, but here it's like they really treat it with it just from the get go. The very first thing of the movie is this dissonant, suspenseful chord.
And if they had run with that, this might have been a good movie. Like, I think this could have
right out of the
had a lot
gate,
of potential.
Pete.
I
Oh, my
know.
goodness.
Wow. This could have been a good movie. Wow.
Wow, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
What, 6
I'm
minutes
not
in,
gonna be all negative, but I like several things about this movie, but it kicked me off on the wrong foot.
Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yes. All right. So
I have this note here that surprises me. I like the molehill. I don't know if we're calling this a molehill or a groundhog hill or what, but I kind of I like the dissolve from the Paramount logo to this version of that hill version of that.
I don't
switch.
mind the hill. I don't like that they immediately then cut to a CGI prairie dog.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's and Elvis singing "Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog." Those two things together say A, this is not Indiana Jones, and B, I don't like this.
This is Caddyshack.
Yeah, well, at least Caddyshack didn't use CGI. This is
That's an excellent question that it only occurred to me later. Would you like this a lot more if it wasn't CGI, or if it weren't CGI? I'll correct myself.
yeah. If it were not, I don't know. From the minute one, I'd say yes. We'll have to keep going because I think part of the reason this movie is so weird is that it feels like they never finished the special effects.
Yeah. Although I don't know if are we calling this a groundhog or a ground squirrel? What is this?
Well, I think
guy?
it's a prairie dog.
Prairie
Well,
dog. Okay.
in that part of the country and in the credit or
Yeah.
in the script, it says it's a prairie
well,
dog.
you know what? I can't figure out. Are we supposed to be thinking when they show this opening? Are we supposed to be thinking, "You ain't nothing but a groundhog
I know it is weird. It is a little
crying all the time"? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just kind of like, was that the thing? Is there a connection between the song and the fact that you're like, oh, it's a groundhog?
It is
I
a
guess,
little weird.
or-
You want to
Yeah.
make that
prairie dog.
direct connection, but that it's not there.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
hound dog, not a groundhog dog.
A prairie
A
dog
ground- yeah.
hog. Well, so
Ground
I
dog.
wanted to know, like, so I know. I'm sorry. Is the fact that the Paramount logo turns into the molehill, ground dog hill, and then it starts to crumble? Is that symbolic of the Indiana Jones brand?
Yes.
Wow. Something happened to Pete
Wow.
over summer break.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. This is the summer. This is the summer that got to Pete.
Yeah.
He discovered the Smiths. he's wearing all black now.
That girlfriend from summer camp broke up with him.
Yeah.
Like just
He
before
keeps
school started.
writing. He keeps writing like an upside down star and an L on his pinky. Like, what's that all about? Have you noticed? Sitting alone in the cafeteria.
You know what sucks though is I hate this whole little beginning, but
Really?
I like I hate the prairie dog and I hate the CGI and I hate the music here, but I like that's where Spielberg is going with it. Is this was kind of a nod to George Lucas, like this was him saying, "Hey, I know you like all the hot rods and the old 50s
Yeah.
and stuff," and so this was kind of like, "Hey, I'm putting this in just for George."
Well, I think Hound Dog was specifically George's idea,
Oh, okay.
from what I read. Yeah, that
Yeah.
he liked the idea of like connecting. His push was just for this to be like a 50s B movie,
Mhm.
and he liked the idea of connecting, not only that and indie, but then also like American Graffiti, that kind of thing,
Uh-huh.
with this song, which I get and appreciate. I love George Lucas. When I think about American Graffiti, I love George Lucas.
Oh, I
He made
love
and
American
Star
Graffiti.
Wars.
That's an incredible movie. Both of those are
Yeah.
incredible movies. Yeah.
That's
a
what's
good
really
man.
hard.
Yeah.
That's what's really hard.
Yeah. He's
A
only
question
human.
for you, Tommy. I'm
Yes, sir.
curious. Do you know who originally sang Hound Dog?
I feel like it was a female singer, but I don't remember who.
Oh, that's pretty good. Now, Pete, you and I both took David Baker's history of jazz and blues class at Indiana University. Do you
Uh-huh.
remember?
He
You
said,
remember who it was?
Oh.
No, I don't actually.
Oh.
Who
Okay.
was it?
No, why it's Big Mama Thornton,
Oh,
recorded in 1952, and it's more of a traditional, like a straight ahead blues, and it's absolutely fantastic. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Elvis's version. Elvis's version was recorded in 1956, and it's great, and I love it, and I understand why he became the king.
Elvis was a hero to most, but he never meant Wilhelm to me.
But yeah, Big Mama Thornton did an incredible version, and it was her only hit.
Oh.
Yeah, it sold over 500,000 copies.
Wow.
Well, I was going to say, actually, a really interesting little thing. Does anybody know what the B-side to Hound Dog was?
Rock Around the
Elvis's?
Clock.
I feel like Super Jeopardy.
The B-side of Elvis's or the B-side of...
That's a good question. The B-side of Elvis's Hound Dog.
Bark at the Moon.
Pete?
Jailhouse Rock?
Oh, good. Actually, not a bad guess. It was "Don't Be Cruel,"
Oh.
and they considered that like I think they called it like I can't remember, like a double hit, a 2-hit wonder or something. The fact that like the
Yeah.
B-side went, Hound Dog was number 1 and "Don't Be Cruel" was number 2, and they were on the charts for like 55 weeks
God.
or something,
Wow.
which is a little bit of tidbit,
Son of a gun.
little trivia, yeah.
But see, I enjoy those tidbits, and I don't have a problem with Elvis, and I don't have a problem with the 50s, but none of it feels like Indiana Jones to me. And maybe it could, but I'm having a hard time being pulled into this so far.
I appreciate them pulling out all the stops and going all faders up on the 50s from the very first frame. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like, this is not the 30s. This is not the 40s. This is the 19 rockin' and rollin' 50s. And, here you are. Indiana Jones is going to be dealing with Elvis in some way.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I found true love this summer because I actually really like this minute.
Wow.
I do. I
too.
like this minute. I think this is a great opening to an Indiana Jones movie.
Wow.
It kind of takes you by surprise. I mean, okay, look, the Hound Dog is a little it's a little weird, and I'm with you, Pete. It's a little like I don't like when he jumps up and he looks around and he goes, he basically goes, jumping G Willikers.
Yeah.
And, and like if you listen to the noise, it's like a balloon letting air out or something. It's like
Probably was. We
And
should
you're
get
like,
John Brugan to call in and see if we can get a ruling
See if we
on
can-
this.
yeah.
How do
Get
you
a
spook
ruling.
a CGI groundhog to do exactly what you want it to do? Gerry, I'll take you one further. You say you like this minute a lot, and I know
Yeah.
you haven't watched the whole movie in a long time, that you're kind of going minute by minute with us.
Yeah, I don't remember. Just for the record, I don't remember anything about this movie.
I saw this movie opening night, whenever that was. I probably should have looked that up if I'm going to be doing a podcast about it, but I don't remember. What year was that? It was like May 2009, I think?
I think it was 2008, wasn't it?
Who knows? There's no way to find out.
It was
This is going to be a
sometime,
mystery
yeah.
for the ages. But I saw it opening night, and then I never saw it again because I was just so let down, and I thought it was so horrible, and I just wanted to punch everybody in the seats next to me. I think I did punch my friend Ryan, who went with me. And then I watched it again because I'm doing this podcast with you guys. I watched it over the summer, and I do not hate this movie. I kind of like this movie. I like a lot of this movie. This
Yeah.
movie commits some venal sins, and it's got some real problems, and it falls to pieces at some points, but I kind of like it. It's not
I
a bad
think- I
Indiana
think-
Jones movie.
I think Tommy means mortal sins.
I don't know. I just wanted an adjective before sin to make it sound more heavy.
It should have been happy or worthwhile. Worthwhile.
Wait, what's
sins.
venal then? What's venal?
Oh, those are ones that are like higgly piggly.
Oh,
Those
okay.
are like having Mutt do a Tarzan yell. They're like,
Oh,
No, that's a mortal sin.
Okay,
A venial is like those are the ones that are like, say
Oh,
a
I
Hail
see.
Mary, it's
Oh, okay.
fine.
okay. Well,
Yeah, the
it's got
mortal
both.
sins are like,
It's got
it's got
venal
both.
sins and it's got mortal sins, but it's also got Indiana Jones, like some legit Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And there are parts of this movie where I was watching and I was like, I can't believe that this is like, I'm looking at the screen, I'm like, this is an Indiana Jones movie that I want to watch. This is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I like
It's
that.
going to be weird.
Yeah.
I'm sure doing it minute by minute is going to wear me down, and I'll be a
Uh-huh.
bitter crank by the end of it, but we'll see. I don't
Maybe
know.
I'll be super positive by the end.
What's
Maybe.
interesting is they do start. If we think about how the Paramount logo transforms into whatever it is, like the Jungle Mountain, or well, I guess it was the gong,
gong,
right? It was
yeah.
the gong and Temple of Doom. It's interesting. This one, it's I don't know. It's comical. It's a tiny little groundhog hill.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny. Like, I like what they did with it.
What happened to you two?
I know. Well, it's a little left turn. It's not. I agree with you. It's a little jarring after that opening suspenseful chord, that dissonant chord. It's actually kind of weird. And then they do. It's interesting. They do that in the opening to Last Crusade. They switched. They pulled the rug out from under us on some of those musical.
Yeah.
Little chords and riffs there, and they do that here. You're like, oh my god, this is really creepy, and then they're like, you ain't nothing but a groundhog, and it's funny, and the thing's squeaking, and it's like, woohoo! So I don't know if that belies the true nature of the movie, sort of opening with this little comic bit, or this sort of freewheeling. I don't know. Maybe the movie's going to be very serious and very dark and scary. I don't know.
Well, speaking of freewheeling, I really do like the really expansive cinematography at the start of this. Like, the camera movements are beautiful. They filmed this on location in an area called the Ghost Ranch in New Mexico, which ironically is pretty close to where they filmed Last Crusade, where he's riding. Where
cool.
the train is actually very close to here. So. Which is odd, because you think about it, in that one you've got Abner chasing Indy, like you've got the old archaeologist chasing the young kid.
I don't like
and
this.
then in this one you've got old Indy chasing these young kids. Does he put a hat on one of them later? I don't know.
No.
Oh, I have no idea what this was talking about.
This was George O'Keeffe spent a lot of time. She lived around here. So if you like George O'Keeffe stuff, this is right in her neck of the woods.
That shot is beautiful of the car speeding through the desert. And I love that we see an actual military convoy. And I'm wondering, is that a shout out to Last Crusade's opening? Where it looks like the military, but it's the Boy Scouts.
Maybe.
Yeah, you find out something
yeah.
about this military, don't you, Jerry? Oh, you haven't seen the movie.
He hasn't seen
I have. I know, but it does begin. It's like we get two beginnings with sort of this military convoy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I actually love the crazy freewheeling youths, rebelling and flaunting their post-World War II prosperity.
Yeah,
they're gonna go to Lana's to listen to records.
And it's interesting. It's juxtaposed against this sterile Cold War military convoy, and I think it's a great beginning because it paints the civilian versus government thing, which is a perfect Indiana Jones theme.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about like the ending of Raiders. Or even like Belloc and, the government he's working for, the Nazis, like he's a civilian, but he's working for the Nazis. You think of Indy and he's working for the U.S. government, and then the government kind of screws him. I mean, it's really interesting. And I think this is that's one of the things I love about this opening is, you have those two, you have these, kids screaming and drag racing away like woohoo, and and then you have the military convoy, and it's very solemn.
Yeah.
Hey,
I want to go back. Can I go to Elvis for one more second?
Yeah.
I've always assumed, I've never listened to the lyrics to the song or anything, but I always assumed that he was singing to a woman and he was calling her a hound dog. But then the lyrics are, you ain't never caught a rabbit and you ain't no friend of mine. I'm like, oh wait, is he literally just singing to a dog? Is this song literally about a hound dog? And that's it? And there's no other layer to it at all? He's not talking about some unfaithful girlfriend or something or I don't know.
Well, here's what's no, it is kind of weird, and what's interesting is
Like, what would catching a rabbit be if it isn't if it's an analogy or some he's saying it figuratively? What does it mean to not catch a rabbit? I don't know.
I don't no it's I mean well the thing is the actual I mean as you would imagine the Big Mama Thornton lyrics are fantastic and they make a lot more sense because they're not like that at all.
Oh.
And
Oh.
yeah. Like,
So
if you
wait,
give
is
me-
she
Yeah,
singing
hang on
directly
a
to a
second.
dog
It's-
or is she
yeah.
singing to a guy?
No, it makes much more sense. She's singing
Okay.
about a dude, and she's
Yeah.
like, "You ain't nothing but a hound dog," and she's like, "Been snooping around the door,
Yeah.
and you ain't nothing but a hound dog, been snooping around my door. You can wag your tail, but I ain't gonna feed you no more."
Wow.
Yeah, and like,
Wow.
no, that's why it's a great
I'm
Yeah.
song.
blushing.
None of this
Oh
like.
my goodness.
You ain't never caught a rabbit, and you're no
Yeah.
friend of mine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, exactly.
I'll scratch
which-
you on the belly and toss you a treat.
And then you told me you was high class, but I can see through that. Yes, you told me you're high class, but I can see through that. And Daddy, I know you ain't no real cool cat.
Mm.
Yes, everybody run out and listen to Big Mama Thornton's version because Elvis's version is kind of anodyne.
It's been
That's
said.
kind of what rock and roll did to the blues, though.
Yeah.
No, it is.
Yeah.
And you know the worst thing, and I might get vilified for this because I do love the song Hound Dog, but Elvis comes out and he really does have this great rock vibe to him. And then the Jordanaires come on and they kind of drive me nuts because you take this song and he's, snooping around my door. It's all kind of raspy and gritty. And then like, like on the chorus,
A little overproduced.
and and
wanna hear
it's
the
like
live
super.
version.
It's like a weird Glee Club thing.
But did you like the Ink Spots, or did you like?
If I didn't,
That's some of the most sublime music in the history of music. I love the Ink Spots.
Sure.
the ink spots. No, the ink spots are great, but
That was a great imitation. By the
That
way.
was really good.
the ink spots.
Yeah.
If I didn't care, they have that vibrato. You're like, what's going on? Did one of those guys swallow a theremin?
And then they always had the guy that would always just talk. That he'd just be,
Oh yeah,
if I didn't care, honey child. He'd
Yeah.
always
Yeah,
like
he's
the
a-
super.
These guys are still
Yeah,
singing the
he's
song, but I'm talking right to
Yeah.
you. Don't tell
I'll
them I
just-
said anything.
Speak the lyrics because I don't.
they did. I caught a rabbit for you.
Yeah. I
And-
wasn't alive.
And he would always just repeat the same lyrics that they'd been singing. Like his
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm just catching up. I was late to practice. Says
I'm
here that you
practicing.
ain't never caught a rabbit.
Well, that's just it. It's like Elvis is actually rock. Like you get it. Like he's like, you ain't nothing, and you're like, that's great. And then the Jordanaires come in, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
like we're singing.
Read the room, Jordanaires.
Yeah. Look, we're on the back patio at in mid-July at the country club.
Yeah. There's sweaters tied around their necks.
They
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
It's not that there's not a time for that. It's fine. It's just against Elvis. It's kind of like, yeah, read the room, Jordan.
It's like a stamp gag in the middle of an Indiana Jones movie or something. Is that what
Hey,
you're saying,
hey.
Jerry?
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, no.
Hey, I have an excellent question about the first title we see that comes up is
Mm-hmm.
Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
That's a long title.
Yeah, why isn't the name
Yeah.
of the movie just Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull?
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
Well, I mean, there's some sort of kingdom.
Why am I asking Jerry? He hasn't seen the movie. I mean, they're kind of. I mean, I guess there sort of is in the background. I don't know. We'll get there, but
Yeah, well, yeah.
it's not the thing of the movie. It's like the Crystal Skull's the thing.
Yeah,
you
but a
know?
kingdom is one of those archaeological things.
It's not like Raiders of the Well of Souls or something.
Yeah.
It's Raiders
Yeah,
of the
but when you
Lost
think
Ark.
of if you think of archaeology, you think of palace, kingdom.
I guess.
I mean, those sorts of pyramids,
But it's not, it
ziggurats.
wasn't, Raiders wasn't Indiana Jones in the second intermediate period.
Right. You tell him, Pete.
Wait a minute, is that when it took place? Did it? It was.
It was one of the intermediate periods.
yeah.
I don't know if it was the second or the first.
And actually, if you wanted to go that way, like they had, one version of the Frank Darabont version of the screenplay. We can talk about that history in a little bit, but he had Indiana Jones and the Lost City of the Gods, which is pretty cool.
I like that.
That's pretty solid. If you want to go to the archaeological location, you could have done that.
Well, what about the one who did the one that was going to be Indiana Jones and the Saucerman? What do you think?
That was the very first one. That was Jeb Stewart.
Okay.
In like 94.
Wait, Jeb Stewart, the Civil War
yeah,
general?
the Civil War general.
I lived on Jeb Stewart Road in Potomac, Maryland. No, he wrote
Jeb Stewart?
He wrote Die Hard, and he wrote something for Spielberg, but I forget what. Somebody will write in and yell at me.
Battle of Cold Harbor.
But it was Indiana Jones and the Saucermen from Mars. Okay, well, let's back up. This is like they've spent like years after Last Crusade thinking like, well, I'll probably do another indie, right? I can kind of, and George Lucas, I think, was the one who's kind of like, no, I'm done. I mean, yes, it'd be fun to do another one, but I can't think of a good MacGuffin or anything. And that's kind of the thing. And Spielberg kind of wanted to do it, and Ford really wanted to do it. Harrison Ford.
That's weird.
I guess so.
Oh, did he?
I can see Harrison Ford being like, I think he even said something about like, I do all these other movies and like, they're not as fun. Like these are fun movies to make. These Indiana Jones things with George and Steve, and it's fun.
I always think of this in Star Wars in the same breath. So it's funny that he was so grumpy about Star Wars, but he loved doing these so much.
Yeah, it is. I never understood that.
Most of his other movies, he's going, enough.
Yeah, he's much more angry.
You know what I mean? That he's like, he's pointing his finger, and he's some sort of high-powered such and so.
Yeah.
And he's yelling enough.
Wiping ice cream off his Amish face, building a barn.
He's usually doing something. He's got his like Stern thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he's like a agent of something.
He's always an agent. Yeah. He's always an agent of some kind.
But so I guess George was just sort of kicking ideas around, and then around the time they were doing Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, the one with Harrison Ford, George Lucas is on the set, and he said, "Oh, it just hit me. Like Indiana Jones, if we do it kind of like logically how old Harrison is and stuff, he would be in the 50s. And so it's so obvious. It should be flying saucers. It should be aliens. Because that's like instead of being like a 30s serial thing, it's more of a science fiction B-movie thing. Mm-hmm. So we just take Indiana Jones into that. So it'll be like flying saucers. And he told Harrison Ford, he's like, nah, it's dumb. I don't like it.
Well, Spielberg really didn't want to do aliens again because he had done so many alien movies at that point.
Right. And then I guess, long story short, they finally in like 2000, there was like an AFI tribute for Harrison Ford, and everybody was there, like, Frank Marshall and George and Steven and everybody, they're all hanging out like, oh, the good old days. We love doing indie. Let's do another one. And so they kind of left that thinking like, okay, we're going to do another one. But they're like, oh my God, we got to think of a movie. And so I think finally like George Lucas and Steven Spielberg came up with the compromise of, yes, there'll be aliens, but there won't be any flying saucers. Which I guess in a way makes sense.
Or they won't be from space. They'll be like interdimensional.
Right. The space between spaces.
Yeah. I feel like if they had embraced the B movie a little more, I think I personally might have enjoyed this movie a little more.
I feel exactly the same way. In the same way as, oh my gosh, I'm watching an Indiana Jones movie, but I'm listening to Elvis. Like in the same way of that, I'd be like, I get to see Indiana Jones in the 50s. I get to see like a totally different, like the 50s are completely different from the 40s or the 30s.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, there's a new, different kind of thing. And that'd be cooler if they embrace that a little bit more. And they do in parts. They do a lot. Like in the first half of the movie, they kind of do.
Yeah, and I like the first half of the movie.
Yeah,
more than I like other parts of the movie.
I think I do too.
I don't like aliens.
No,
in general.
No. I mean, Indiana Jones. That's no.
That's kind of what Harrison Ford said. He's like, well, listen, Indiana Jones has been all about like archaeology and like the kind of mystical,
the supernatural.
Yeah, mysteries of ancient civilizations and things, and UFOs isn't that.
I dig that in archaeology, there's a lot of the supernatural, for instance, like, the pyramids and the Nazca lines and, all, Atlantis and all that stuff. So I understand there's a crossover there, but I don't know.
That's kind of what they went for, ultimately, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and I get that, but even within that, there's a bit of a mystery. I don't know. Like the fact that it's like aliens. Like
Mhm.
that's what the Lost Ark is.
Mhm.
Aliens. That's weird to me. That takes it too far out. Like now I don't know where the boundaries are.
Yeah.
Like I'm like now now we find out like Indiana Jones is immortal. Like actually immortal. We did that last movie.
Right.
But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, he's actually a superhero and he
Mhm.
just discovered that.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, this is weird. The guy's like he's a teacher. He's an archaeologist. He's a swashbuckling teacher.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Aliens is too far for me.
I like it in theory, and maybe it would have worked out goofball, but it's fun to think about.
I think I would have liked it a lot if
Yeah.
they embraced that. But it's interesting you bring up the Nazca lines, Jerry, because I've been listening to the audible version of the novelization of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull,
Oh my god.
Wow.
and I'm actually kind of enjoying it. It's but it begins with some backstory. It doesn't begin the same way this begins. It starts off with Francisco de Orellana, who will show up later in the movie, who was the explorer. He was the first European who traversed the entire Amazon River. But it starts with him at the Nazca lines in 1546, and he's just murdered everybody in his crew because they were trying to take his treasure away from him, and he's trying to take his treasure back to where he found it. Some voices in his head telling him to do this.
Well, that sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And then we cut to 1957, the Yucatan Peninsula, and Indy and his very good friend Mac are excavating a hidden Mayan temple in the jungle.
Well, that sounds cool too.
It gets a little weirder. Like Indy effortlessly reads these Mayan glyphs, which nobody in the world could at this point. And then he falls into a river, and it carries him out to sea for a minute. And when he gets out of the water, he like races back to camp because he's so scared because his really good friend Mac is going to be worried sick about him. So he's racing back to camp, and then when he gets to camp, he sees all these dead bodies on the ground, and he finds out that there are these soldiers wearing goggles who are suddenly pointing guns at him. And that's where and then they, like basically they take him and Mac captive and kill everybody else because their orders are get the key and kill everybody else.
Wow.
And then from there we cut to a bunch of guards on a military base in Nevada gambling on a drag race they're watching outside the gates, which is how the movie starts.
That's funny.
But I wonder, is that like when the groundhog pops up, and this is maybe a question for John Brugan, like, is he in his natural habitat there, or does he come up and he's like, he pulls out the map and he's like, I should have taken that left turn at Albuquerque.
Yeah.
I think that's big time prairie dog country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think they use the for the credits? Do you think they use the same typeface as Raiders and Last Crusade and not Temple of Doom because they're just playing it safe from now on? They're always going to use that because people like it better.
Oh, interesting.
I looked it up actually because my wife's a
Yeah.
font nerd. It's Penumbra. That's the name of that font. So go check
nice.
that out, and you can make all your Christmas cards.
Nice.
Penumbra.
You know what is interesting about when you start the movie with Hound Dog that soon, you don't need, the South America 1936 or,
Mhm.
you don't need that. You immediately know that it's post 1956.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting. I don't know if I don't think they start any other movie that quickly giving away the timestamp.
Right. Right. I can't remember actually what the year is. I
Yeah.
know they say it later, but I can't
Yeah.
remember now. Is it after 56, Pete?
I don't remember actually.
We'll discover it together.
Well, the book begins in 1957, so I'm assuming it's 57. We'll see though. Were you guys surprised when it said Kate Blanchett?
Yeah, I had no idea.
I think I did. You know, I remembered because on the Rebels Star Wars TV show, there's a character who looks exactly like her character in this. So that reminded me of it, like in the years between.
Okay.
But yeah, that is, yeah. I can't decide if it's weird that she's in this.
I'll be curious. Like we talked a lot about why do people remember Marion and Willie, but not Elsa, and maybe why do people not remember
Mm-hmm.
so much Irina Spalko? Is Is she just a badly drawn character? Is it she
I don't know
badly
if she's
acted,
ever been
or
bad
is
in
there
a
something
movie
else?
before, so it's probably not that. I mean, people do
Yeah.
kind of dismiss this movie a lot. So, I mean,
Oh,
she may have
yeah.
just been thrown out with the bathwater a little bit.
Yeah, and I think a lot fewer people have seen it.
Well, I mean, speaking of, like, what do you think about seeing Karen Allen
Yeah,
in the credits?
that's encouraging.
I remember sitting there opening night and seeing that and just being like, "Oh my god, this is the greatest! This is gonna
Yeah.
be the greatest thing ever."
Right. Yeah. Well, Pete, other than the CGI groundhog, do you like the opening?
A little ambivalent. Like I like the cinematography. It still doesn't feel like an Indiana Jones movie.
Doesn't
to
feel
me,
like
so,
what?
yeah.
What do you think it does feel like?
It feels like a George Lucas, like it's going to be a movie about like some bombers on a base, or it's going to be a movie about, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it's going to be the same thing that we've seen in all the other Indiana Jones movies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be something new and different, which is maybe good, but it's still hard for me to let go.
Sure, that makes total sense.
Well, Pete was the guy who got me to sign on to this. I love that they try something different every movie.
Yeah.
And at the very end of Last Crusade last season, I remember, tipping my hat to you, Peter, going, well, you have shown me that, and I will concede that, yes, sometimes you need to try. Yeah. We talked about Miles Davis. He like single-handedly invented like 5 different genres, but
Mhm.
some of his records, like Doo-Bop, are kind of weird.
That's true.
They're like, it's kind of not that good. But without him, experimenting,
Mm-hmm.
then
Yeah, like-
he wouldn't have had In a Silent Way, or
You were under arrest, whatever that weird one, that really weird one he did.
I wonder if people's. I mean, again, we're not like. This movie has been like kind of revisited in like recent years. They just had like the 10th anniversary.
The
I guess?
20th.
Yeah.
10th.
This year's the 20th.
No, the
10th.
Can't
10th.
be.
Yeah,
Wait
the
a minute.
10th.
Okay, yeah.
No, it's
No,
the
you're
10th.
right, the 10th, yeah.
We're so used to like, 40 years ago we
I know.
celebrated.
I know.
But yeah, people have been kind of like revisiting it a little bit in that way and saying, come on, it's not so bad. Like, take another look. But I wonder if, like, before then, most people are just kind of like deriding it. Like, come on, Indy lost it. He's an old man. But I wonder if it's like a cross between like seeing Indy in a slightly different, like not 30s way. There's no Nazis. There's no, they're not in Europe or anything, If it's a mix between that and also just kind of fatigue and like, oh, there's groundhogs in this one, and oh, Marcus isn't around, and oh, they made some just bad choices. It's like a punk teenager. Oh man. Like if they tried some stuff that should work, but people weren't used to it, and they also tried some stuff that's just kind of lame.
I think it's both of that. And I actually think a lot of it's an enjoyable movie, but I also think it's easy when something starts getting bad press and bad, there's a bad buzz around it. I think it's really easy and fun to jump on the bandwagon.
Totally. Yeah.
And I wonder if some of the negativity around this doesn't actually have to do with the movie, but the fact that there's so much negativity around it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I saw the movie once in the theater, and I called my great friend Tom Taylor.
I was there for
and
you.
we we kind of like kicked the ball around a little bit. Hey, you see the movie? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it was kind of. I mean, it was.
Well, Marion was
Yeah, what'd you think? Yeah.
Huh.
All right.
Okay.
And it was a very awkward moment. A very.
Yeah, I mean, no. When I first saw, I mean, I'm being more, generous to it now. But when I first saw it, it was like even before there were any reviews. I don't even know if I knew what to expect or anything. But when I first saw it opening night, I was just so let down and so punched in the gut, and like, oh boy, that's how you don't make an Indiana Jones movie, for crying out loud. I guess my childhood's over. It's not dead. It's just over. I'm an old man now. I can't have nice things.
Yeah.
But with the benefit of hindsight and maybe expecting the worst going in again when I watch it again.
Yeah.
No, there's some really good stuff in this movie. And it might add up to a good movie. I'm not sure yet.
Wow.
You can't mention this film without just uproarious laughter.
Although when we went to 7-Eleven when you were in town, didn't that girl say that her favorite one was Crystal Skull? She didn't know what she was talking about.
Yeah, she didn't.
Yeah.
You know.
And also,
Yeah.
it's still hard for me, and I know a lot of people really love the prequels, but for some reason in my mind, it's hard to divorce this from the prequels too.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's the same
Why?
era. It's the same.
It's the same era. It's the same. It feels kind of like the same George Lucas. I don't know.
Mhm.
It's hard for, you know, it's that Lucasfilm logo. This felt like I had a bad taste in my mouth from the prequels, and maybe I still hadn't I hadn't had a palate cleanser yet.
You know what, though? I think we should say, or at least I'll say early on, that there's going to be the temptation to lay anything that's stupid about this movie at the feet of George Lucas, and I don't think that's fair.
No, I
I
agree.
think that's
I agree.
definitely. I think you can feel the pull between one guy wanting to make a 50s science fiction B
Mhm.
movie, and another guy wanting to make a more traditional Indiana Jones movie, and everybody kind of loses a little bit sometimes in the middle.
hmm
Yeah.
I don't get why are they doing a science fiction B movie for Indiana Jones? I understand it's the 50s. Sure.
Well, it's either that or like Big Blue or like ENIAC or something. It's like
Sure, why didn't they do like the, like Sputnik or
Mhm.
the, some Cold War Russian this and that? I mean, does it have to be aliens?
I think aliens and something otherworldly would lend itself better to Indiana Jones than something strictly like we got to stop them Russians from
Yeah.
getting into space
Yeah.
before us or something.
Sure. No, sure.
Although I'd take that
It-
too.
What makes this different? Like, what is it that's different between aliens and like a supernatural being? Like, what's the difference between aliens and Shiva with
Mhm.
some magic rocks? Like, what's the difference with the aliens and magic skulls and Shiva with magic rocks?
Aliens is crossing a line for me.
Okay.
It feels like it does
Yeah,
that for a
I
lot of
just-
people. It's just
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like mystical versus just flat out science fiction. Or
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's what it is. That's what it is.
personally, I think that's okay, but I get people being rattled by that.
Hmm.
And you do hear a lot of people saying what Pete and I are saying, like, boy, if they just went full throttle into 50s science fiction B movie, that would have been pretty cool. Flying saucers, saucermen from Mars, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, like like the old B serials, like the old science fiction serials. Like
Yeah.
it feels like they went that way with the other three movies. With a couple of them more than others, but
Mhm.
it seems like they had leaned back into that. It could have been a little more fun.
Yeah.
We'll
see.
Well, listen, we're only 1 minute into this thing.
I'm
We'll see what
excited about it. I think it's gonna be fun.
Me too.
Wow, I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Speaking of flying saucers and crazy,
What do you mean?
this.
We were speaking about that. Why would you say
Yeah.
that out loud like
yes, I said speaking
that? No,
of.
but we are.
Yes,
Oh, do you have
No, I
like?
know.
Oh, you're making some connection. I see.
I'm making a connection.
Oh.
Yes. This just in.
Whoa,
From Professor Christy Porter.
Oh my God, it's been so long.
Wow.
Hey, let me comb my hair. Hang
Wait,
on. a second.
are those
Yeah.
telegraph beepity beep beeps or aliens going beepity boop boop?
Oh yeah.
No, the gamma rays. If they wanted this scene in 2018, what car would they use? What song would they be playing?
Oh, God.
And who would be playing Peggy Sue?
You mean if the movie were set in 2018?
Yeah, if it was set
Oh,
in
wow.
2018.
God.
What car would they use? Well, it's a good question because
is.
it is so like, oh, wow.
Like what
it's
is
the 50s.
What's the hound dog
Yeah.
Elvis of
Yeah.
2018?
It'd be that. It'd
2018.
be like that little Fiat.
Or like a self-driving Google car maybe or something. Or
Yeah.
with nobody in it, so there's no Peggy Sue.
And what's the song?
God, I don't even. I'm too
Yeah.
old man to like
Yeah.
even know.
We stopped listening to songs like 15 years ago.
Yeah,
Oh, it's true. Something that goes like whoop,
yeah.
whoop, and even that's old. Even that's
Right.
like 18
Yeah.
years
I
ago.
was
Yeah.
gonna say my most recent like musical shorthand reference is like there was like that whole period like just a year ago or something where like every single song was like a bunch of guys with beards going oh, like these kind of like just group caterwaulings and stuff with a guitar or something. So maybe they play one of those.
The thing. There's a lot of rap that I like,
Yeah.
but I really don't like mumble rap.
What's mumble rap?
It's mumble rap is that some of the guy comes out and he's just mumbling.
Oh.
And
They
it
call that
like
mumble rap,
vacuums out all the. Yeah, I was listening to like "Mama Said Knock You Out"
Yeah.
by LL Cool J, and he's like, "Don't call it a comeback." And his attitude is amazing.
Right.
He's like, "I've been here for years," and you're like, "This is incredible." But the mumble rap is the opposite. They vacuum out all attitude. And it's like, I was sitting in my car and I'm the baddest guy there
What?
is.
Speak
and
up.
Oh, see, I
What?
like that. I like that.
Why?
I think I'm with Gerry on this one because I think what's really cool about rap is like the precision of it and
It's
like
it's the attitude, and there's an
sharpness of the lyrics and
attitude
everything.
behind
I like
it.
them both, but
Yeah.
I like that it's so like nonchalant.
Well, I wouldn't call it nonchalant. It's like, hey, listen, guy, let's do this again, but show up.
No, it's that whole like it's the whole like the dance where you wave your arm. I don't know. It feels very like I'm gonna look like I'm not doing anything. I'm gonna look like I'm not putting into any effort into anything, which I can respect.
School
It's
sucks.
like you don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you don't care.
Yeah, the insouciance of mumble rap.
Wow, I can't wait to pay money for this. Wow, even a guy didn't care.
Oh.
This is gonna be awesome.
No, but see, you care, but you sound like you don't care. That's the trick. It's hard to do. It's
Boy,
like
that was really lackadaisical. How does he do it?
Yeah.
it's a gift, man.
All right. Well, now that we're discussing 2018 do's and don'ts of pop music, we should probably wrap this one up.
2019.
Oh, yeah, 2019. Here we are in 2019 right now. Speaking of time variances and things like that, we should let everybody know that now that we're back with Crystal Skull, we have been a 5-day-a-week show. We've been a daily show for 3 movies now, but we're feeling the need to sort of pace ourselves, for crying out loud. We got 1 movie left that actually exists. They keep saying they're going to make a new one in 2021. So we're going to take our time a little bit this year. And with Crystal Skull, we're going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So that'll give you both time to re-listen to each episode 2 or 3 times. Maybe
notes.
you've got other shows or loved ones in your lives or something like that. And yeah, hopefully it'll make your day go easier. And it'll keep us more sane too. And we'll stretch out the fun. We'll be around longer. We'll spend Christmas together. It'll be great.
Yeah.
But first we got to get to minute 2, which will be on Wednesday. So come back on Wednesday for minute 2 of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull here on the Indiana Jones and the Podcast of the Minute.
Pete, do the ink spots.
If I didn't care, would all this be true?
See, you don't sound like you care though. You're mumbling.
Yeah.
You're mumbling.
That's because I'm trying to
effort into it,
emulate my
Yeah,
new
you're
favorite
not-
musicians. Yeah.
The ink spots put their heart and soul
No, that guy.
into
Yeah,
it. That's
the guy
why,
that
yeah,
talked, he'd be like,
exactly.
"If I didn't care," like he, yeah. No, he did actually. He did sound very nonchalant. He
He's
was
a-
very like. He sounded like he'd just taken like some Vicodin or something.
There's smooth and there's nonchalant. There's smooth and there's lazy.
Yes.
There's
Yes, there's a
Yeah,
difference.
but I'm not.
No, I'm
saying
with you,
lazy's
Pete.
good, but I'm yeah.
No, but his tone was robust. That's what
It was. It was
tone
robustly
yeah.
nonchalant.
Wait, I forget whose side I'm on. I like the ink spots, but I don't know if I don't know about the mumble rap.